Arfield, 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield, he's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
Only by Fulton Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day, and Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby!
Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Have a shot.
Oh, what a goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! The Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome along to the latest episode here on Turfcast with me, Joe Redmond. We've got Sam from Clarets Roundup and Chris. How are we doing, lads?
Good, mate.
Not bad at all.
Are we excited for tomorrow?
I'll let Chris.
I'll take that as a no. I'll take that as a no. How are you feeling about it, Chris? New season, new hope?
Yeah, not an ideal start for us, really. I think I'd feel a bit more excited if we were going to Luton.
I agree with that.
Tricky start, isn't it?
Tough start.
I think that's what makes it worse for me. It's just that you go in there and thinking, it's a tough game, this. And you're thinking, if you get off to a bad start in this league, and you're thinking, don't know, difficult one, isn't it?
Yes, but I'm kind of glad in a way that it's out of the way early on. But I'm a little bit worried that if we lose this one and then, fans react and stuff like that. But we'll get into the game itself. I'll just quickly say hello to all the viewers. Chris Hyam says, these subtitles are hilarious. You'll have to let me know what they say, mate, and how I turn them off if they're ridiculously inaccurate. But it's we'll have to see how we get on, won't we? Liam Beach, good to see you in the chat. Sorry, Trucker Jenkins, 4-1, top of the table. Happy days. I think we'll all take that. Good to see Dan from Turf Morehouse in the chat. Stuart Rhodes, one of the OGs, he's in the chat. Liam Beach says, and I'll start with this one then, because obviously, lads, we've seen all the new shirts. Sam, I'll start with you. What's your favourite of the 3 new shirts? Is it the home, the third, or the away?
Oh, it has to be the away kit, doesn't it? I mean, that is just such a sexy kit, really, isn't it? The black and the pink is it's a nice top. The fact that you can get it without a sponsor as well. Like, I'd just wear that as a top to go out. It's honestly, that one's one of my favourites from the last 10 years. I think it's brilliant.
Really?
Yeah,
I do like it.
Brilliant.
I do like it. The colour annoys me a little bit on it, but I do like it.
But I think that's like what kits are nowadays, though, aren't they? Like, you've got to try and make a kit stand out, and
yeah, it's not even the pink triangles that annoy me. It's the material of it, because it's like it just it don't choke you or anything. It's just a bit tighter. Like I don't mind the little triangles on it. It's not the design. It's like the actual material, the colour. I just think it's a bit weird, but I do like it, and I think I agree. It's probably my favourite. I think the third's getting unnecessary stick, and I'm not particularly sure why. Chris, what's your favourite, mate?
I do like all 3. Probably the third, but don't like the sponsor. If they coloured the sponsors in line with the shirt,
yeah, I agree.
Like on the away kit, if the sponsor was pink, and then on the third one, if it was claret and blue or something, it'd look better. But black and yellow on a shirt that's got no yellow on it just looks ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it's that big gold 9 that annoys me on all 3 shirts. I don't really see the point of it. I understand the club have said to the Fab a couple of days ago that they did ask 96.com to change colours, but they said no, which I get, it's brand awareness. But then, don't know, if you were that bothered as a club, you'd surely put it into the negotiations early on, I guess. But then obviously 96 could have just. I'll quickly get rid of that message. How do I get rid of that?
I literally just popped up on mine. I was like, no.
Message me for nudes, says Lisa Parkinson. Yeah, no, thank you, Lisa. I'm sure someone
you won't hear that again around Team Turfcast. No way.
You never know, mate. Team Turfcast does OnlyFans. Anyway, we digress. But yeah, new shirts. I quite like them. You know what? And how do you compare them to last season's then? Because I thought last season's. I'll start with you again on this one, Sam. Last season's got a bit of stick. I think this season's getting a bit of stick. But I think this season's 3 as a whole are better than last season's 3.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The 3 on a whole is a lot better. And simply because that yellow kit just spoiled everything. That was one of the worst kits we've ever had, ever. It was horrible. And we lost so many games in it, so why would you?
We lost so many games in them all, mate, to be fair.
Why would you even want it, like, honestly?
Yeah,
Chris,
I didn't like any of last season's 3 at all. None of them. If I had to choose one, I'd have gone the third one. The yellow one's horrible, and the home kit had a collar. I don't like collars on shirts. The third one was the best of the 3, probably, but even that weren't very good.
I think the third were the best. But the same again with last season's kits, like that gold W just ruins it. Like it's just big slap bang in the middle. It just ruins it. As Alan says, the kits are too expensive these days, and I agree, 60 quid. But even clubs in League 2 these days are charging 55, 60. So,
but to be fair, if you go through a lot of teams now in the football pyramid, like a lot of football shirts will be spoiled by the sponsor. It isn't just us. Like there's so many teams out there where the sponsors just spoil a kit. Like I couldn't even name you a nice kit this year other than like the standard Arsenal kits who have Fly Emirates every single season. Like because they're just normal and you've got used to that. Whereas when we've got a big massive gold 9 in the middle of our kit or a massive W that's a completely different colour to the kit, like just stands out too much for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just quickly looking at some kits there. See if I can find any nice ones. Footy headlines, just looking on there. I can't remember seeing any. The Premier League ones, like I said earlier, the Leicester one is absolutely horrific. I don't like that at all.
Awful. Yeah, and Southampton's pink kit now.
The pink ones. Yeah, that Southampton one's horrendous.
I think Bournemouth have got a bad one as well. I think that got voted as like the worst in the Premier League or something. I saw.
Awful.
Bournemouth one. I can't remember what it looks like.
Which one, the home or the away?
Home kit, yeah. It got voted.
The away kit's not much better.
Yeah, I'm looking at the away now. Is that purple and green? What's that?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress. Let's chat about tomorrow. Obviously, we've all already said that we're not. Well, you two have said you're not looking forward to it. I kind of am. Season tickets arrived as well, so new season, new hope. We'll chat about tomorrow's game, and then later on we'll get some predictions in for where we think Burnley will finish, the top 6 in the Championship, the bottom 3 in the Championship, and maybe some other questions as well that I haven't told the lads. It'll only be like Premier League and stuff like that. Don't worry, boys. But Sam, I'll come to you. Thoughts ahead of tomorrow? You did stutter a little bit early when I asked you if you were feeling excited about it. How come?
I think it all comes down to the whole, and you know what as well, like it is everybody else's view as well. Like I can't help but be pessimistic because of what other people have said. Like when we came down, I expected people to say it'll be Burnley and Leeds, and the fact that there's so many people downplaying how good we can be, obviously it does plant something in the back of your mind, but that's not the entire reason. My biggest reason is the recruitment. I as much as I think we still have a fantastic squad, we don't know what that squad's going to completely look like. We don't know if Sander Berge is still going to be there. We don't know if he's going to feature. We've heard that Koleosho's not totally fit, so he might not start. Odebear, I think, will probably play because we haven't heard any rumblings since the Ipswich bid for him. I'd like to think he plays a part, but we still don't know what's happening with Benson and Zareri. We know they've been in training and they've played in pre-season, but we don't know whether or not they're going to come back. We don't know if it's Brownell in the 10. The defence is going to be all over the place. We don't know if Dara's going, so he might not be there. And like Chris says, like, we're not playing Portsmouth at home. We're playing Luton, a team that got relegated as well. And that's a tough game to have, especially when you've had to wait for everybody else to play first. So, for me, it's set up as like a trap game, like the complete opposite to when we played Huddersfield. Like we played Huddersfield, they ended up being rubbish that season. We didn't have a complete squad, but then you could see after that when we didn't have a complete squad, we drew with Luton, we drew with Stowe. We dropped points. So for me, this will be exactly the. It will go exactly the same. We don't have the complete squad. We don't have the players yet. We don't know what a Scott Parker team is going to look like, and I can just see this game being a bit of a trap, really. Like the game where we do see, okay, maybe we end up losing 3-1 and think, it's not a great start to the season, really, is it?
It's interesting because, as Ray said there, no Barkley for Luton, which will make a big difference to them. I don't know if any of you have listened to the pre-game show in the chat, but I'm actually predicting a win. There's no Barkley, no Lokonga, no Lockyer. Obviously, after the second heart attack, Luton aren't the same team. I know they missed Lockyer a lot of last season, to be fair, but obviously Barkley and Lokonga were their engine room, and they have got so many injuries at the back. I'm honestly going into this game tomorrow not expecting a win, but I'm quietly hopeful. I do agree there's all this uncertainty surrounding the squad and how Scott Parker's going to play and stuff like that. But a lot of teams have that uncertainty surrounding them at the minute. Obviously, Luton, as I mentioned, have a lot of injuries, so they've got uncertainty on who might play. I think, what's he called? Mendy might be back. I think I've seen he was originally meant to be injured. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But he's meant to be back now. So I'm quietly confident going into tomorrow's game. I think there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding it. I do agree. But I did feel that going into that Huddersfield game, and yeah, all right, Huddersfield did end up being pretty shy that season. But obviously at the time, they were the recent playoff final losers, weren't they? So I remember going into that and thinking, that's going to be a tough game.
I think that's my difference though, mate. Like I appreciate that, but I said it like 4 or 5 weeks ago when we talked about it, and I said you can't look at like this season. And I know you weren't, but like you can't look at this season as a carbon copy to last because there are so many differences. We signed a manager, literally like towards the beginning of the season, he had time to bed in what he wanted. He also went into a completely blank canvas. He basically told players like J-Rod and Jack Cork and Johan, you need to conform to us because we're going to be bringing a lot of heads through the door. So that was almost completely building a new squad for the way company wanted to play.
Yeah.
What Parker's got to do is either hit the ground running or he's got to unravel everything that these players have been taught, the style of play that they've learned, and bringing in the new manager is such a big thing, and bringing him in late like we did, and then also having the recruitment set up so far that we have, which does feel like, and we've said it already, it does feel like, we will buy once we sell. But if those players don't sell, we're now in the dark and we don't know who's where, what's needed. We still thought we needed a centre midfielder. We don't think we need any wingers. We still think that we're light at fullback. Like, I'm not massively confident in the goalkeeper signings, I have to admit. It's not like when we brought Muric in. We've brought a guy in from Saint Etienne, Etienne Green.
Yeah, I think he'll be number 3, to be fair, but I guess we'll find out.
But that's kind of what I mean. And then, obviously, Trafford is still here, but you don't know for how long, because this is the same guy that at the beginning of the transfer window you said was the first name out the door. Like, my only thing is, this is a completely different kettle of fish now. There is no expectation. When we went into that Huddersfield game, we said we'd be happy with the playoffs because we still think we're going to build a squad. We ended up going on an absolute tear and winning the league. Where we are now is we're almost expected to finish first and second, but with everybody else saying we're not going to, and then the recruitment, I'm just ever so slightly apprehensive, and especially with the recruitment Sheffield United have done, how Leeds are in a similar boat, but they were still the 3rd best team or 4th best team in the Championship last season. There's just a little part of me that's just a little bit like unsure now.
Yeah, I think I get the anxiety and I get the uncertainty. I do think there's a lot of uncertainty, but I do believe that a lot of people are sleeping on our squad. It's a very, very good squad with a lot of depth and a lot of talented players. And we saw Sheffield United yesterday, who I agree have done some good business, but they kept one clean sheet. Not yesterday. Was it yesterday? Friday? I can't remember. Whenever they played. They kept the clean sheet against Preston. They kept one clean sheet the whole last season. Admittedly, Preston aren't a great side, and they're not going to be up there battling with, hopefully, us. But I think the disparity between the Premier League and the Championship is still huge. And I do believe that we'll be up there fighting come the end of the season. But we'll get into our predictions later on. Chris, I want to come to you on the Luton game. How are you feeling ahead of tomorrow?
Yeah, a bit like Sam, just a bit uncertain. Don't really know which way it's going to go. I think it might be, well, I'm hoping it's going to play to our advantage a little bit, that we know him quite well. We played him 4 times in 2 seasons, so there's lads in that team who have played in all 4 of those games, so we should know what to expect. Someone commented about getting the fullbacks being key to stop crosses coming into the big 2. And it's things like that where you know what Luton are going to do. They're going to try and bully us. And then you watch that goal we conceded against Cadiz, and you think, if you're doing that against Luton, you're getting undone. There was the free kick against the team they played at Gawthorpe. I forgot who it was, Leganes or something. Again, free kick, set plays, things like that. And my biggest worry is the defence. I just don't know as we're gonna have wised up to last season. And I know a lot of people say about Parker that he's a bit more diplomatic in his approach than Company was. It won't be hell for leather, but the same issues to me will still be in that back line. I just look at it and think, if O'Shea's not playing, who's organising that? Who's organising that team? You know, you brought a young lad in at left back who we assume is going to play, but he's not going to be a voice of a back 4, is he? If O'Shea's not going to play, who is going to play? Because no one actually knows who's fit. Estev's a young lad, and Vitinho, well, with all due respect, he's not going to organise anything, is he? So aside from the keeper, who I don't know who's going to play in goal, but where's the organisation coming from in that back 4 against the team who, let's be honest, we're not going to have the ball all game against Luton, because they're at home. When you go there, you're not getting time on the ball to play. Do you know what I mean? So it's just apprehensive for me. I'm just not sure tomorrow night is going to go the way we think it's going to go.
Yeah, to be fair, I think this is going to be one of the 3 hardest games we'll have all season as well. So I think somebody said earlier in the comments, we won't be defined on tomorrow, but I'm quietly hopeful because of their defensive issues. But I do agree, you make a good point about our defence. O'Shea gets a lot of stick, but he wins a lot of balls in the air. And if you've seen the documentary, I'm not sure. I'm not going to give any spoilers away in the chat for obvious reasons, in case anybody hasn't watched it. But O'Shea is quite a vocal person in that dressing room. So you would suspect, well, as you see on the pitch, a lot of times that he is quite vocal at the back. So I get that. I would hope that he's playing because he's still here. As it stands, he's still here. So I would suspect that unless something accelerates over the next couple of days.
But do you want that though? Because for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I don't want players starting the season that aren't going to be here. As much as I love Sander Berge, and I would absolutely love him to start, and if we can pick up a win against Luton with him in the squad, I still think it's a brilliant setup with him, because he's a little bit different to Dara in my opinion, because I think Sander Berge is almost irreplaceable in the squad, whereas I feel like Dara is replaceable. But do you want players to play that aren't going to be here?
Yeah, for me, it's play your best possible squad. I get that you've got to look ahead to the season, but at that particular moment,
Esteve and Bayer, if they're going to be our centre back pairing, then Dara and Bayer.
I mean, if Bayer was fit, I'd probably play him anyway. If Bayer was fit, then that's a good enough person to have in. You could argue he's better than O'Shea. Esteve as well is going to be a fantastic defender, and I think he will be class in the Championship. But for me, you play your best squad. So yes, I'd have Sander Berge in there. I'd have O'Shea in there.
But
I'd potentially even have Trafford because I don't really know much about Haladke.
I know.
I wouldn't play Trafford personally. I just can't, especially with no experience in that back line or anything. I couldn't pick Trafford in goal. I mean, I wouldn't pick him anyway because I just think he's just useless for me. But I'd play the new signing, the Ladke in goal.
Yeah,
just a bit of experience. He played 46 games, I think, last season, didn't he? Or 45 in this league. Bit of experience because we've got nothing at the back. That's the biggest worry in the team, and we'll talk about keeping all the players and stuff like that. But they're going to have to add someone at the back for me, somewhere along that line. Because O'Shea will go. I think I'm pretty dead set he'll go. If they can double the money on O'Shea in 12 months, which they will, he'll go. No doubt about it. They're going to have to sell somewhat. You can't come down and not sell players.
Yeah, well,
I think that's also my thing though. Like I had in my head, I had like 3 or 4 of our like two fringe players that weren't getting into the team, like Trezor and that going, and then I had like 2 genuinely key players. So in my head, it was Bayer because of what we heard at the end of last season that like he's almost dead set to go back to the Bundesliga, and that nothing's materialised from that. And then obviously Sander Berge, just expecting him to go because he's been so good. And then Trafford, obviously, he'd lost his place in the team. And then Trezor, they were like my 4 players to go. If we could end up selling O'Shea, Trafford, Berge, and Trezor, like, we keep so many good players in our squad. Like, we can keep Odebear. We're not in a position where we have to sell Odebear either. Leeds did it with Somerville. Like, we don't have to sell him. But I completely agree with you, Chris. Like, the full-back room worries me. The fact that we only have 1 left-back. The centre-back room doesn't worry me right now, but you lose Dara, and then you've got Amin Al-Dakil, who is good at
potentially 4 injuries as well.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, and he is good at this level, but the kid's out for like another 3 months, and he's still. Ekdal's honestly injured all the time. Like, I still remember that game against Norwich where he played unbelievable, and I just never saw him again. It feels like we've got the best squad, but it's not complete. And you can't help but think that. And that all comes down to the fact that we're leaving it 3 weeks before the end of the season to sell what we are saying are key players. But we need to know now, because we all said it, like when we were on the podcast last time, we thought we needed a new centre midfielder anyway. That's with Berge in the team. When he goes, we need 2. We can't have Cullen Masengo and nobody else, or Brownhill having to drop deeper where he doesn't play very well. Like, we need to bring somebody in now. We need to almost be proactive in getting players out of the club now, because this, for me, all the uncertainty with the transfers is now transitioning to how I feel like we're going to do on the pitch. I don't know where we are as a squad yet, and that's worrying, considering we're playing, like you say, one of our biggest challenges on Monday night.
Yeah. Interesting. Speaking about incomings, there's a comment here from Martin Stevenson, and I did say we were going to discuss potential incomings. There's been reports that John Egan's at the club. He's been training with us, but also further reports that I've heard since then that is, as somebody says in the comments, to be fair, Stephen Lomas, he isn't fit. I was speaking to some Sheffield United fans, saw some comments from Sheffield United fans yesterday on Twitter who were saying that Sheffield United had said originally he was out till November. So if we're signing a centre-back to replace O'Shea when we've already got 4 injured, why would you sign an injured one? So be interested to see what happens there. What are your thoughts on Egan? Chris, I'll come to you first on this one. Would you take him, or is he a little bit, because of his injuries, a little bit more uncertainty that we don't really need?
You can't sign someone who's not fit, especially in the position we're in. When you say Alderkeel's out, Ekdal's always injured, Bayer's always injured, O'Shea's probably going. So that just leaves a Steph. So what's the point in signing Egan? If he's going to be injured on there as well, there's no point. If he was fit, I could stomach it. Bit of experience. He got 2 promotions probably. I could stomach it. But there's just no point. It's just a waste of a wage. He's not played since September, nearly a year. So then you've got to get actually fit. Then you've got to get that match fitness. Then the match sharpness to the point where you're up to the level. We don't have that time. I don't think Parker will get that time from some of the fans as well. Like, we can't have passengers in this team, and I think he would be. So there's just no point.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Egan, Sam? Similar?
Yeah, mate. I mean, I'm not being funny, but like, as much as I don't think he's a bad centre half, if you're going to get Sheffield United's reject centre halves, I think you've got a bit of a problem there, really. I think you'd be buying him 4 years too late. 4 years ago when they were in the Premier League and stayed in the Premier League, and he was a key player for them. I think you'd probably say, yeah. What is he now? 30, 31? Like, I don't know. It's a weird, like I say, it's a weird one for me because whenever it's a free transfer, you almost think like it's not that bad, but it'll be on close to Premier League wages, so it's not like it's completely free. And would he be expected to play every game if we kept Bayer and Esteve? Like, I don't know. For me, I'd be trying to look. I'd be trying to be a little bit bleeding. It just keeps popping up and throwing me off.
Lisa's at it again.
She's always at it. She's been blocked, but the comment's still there. But yeah, like I say, I don't know. I think we should, in my opinion, I'd like to see us be a little bit more proactive and look for somebody who's actually completely going to affect the squad. Doesn't have any question marks around them. I feel like there's already enough question marks. But like I say, I am still looking forward to. I'm still looking forward to the season. Who knows? We've got Vagos coming back into the team. He might be a new signing.
No.
It might be a new signing. You never know. You don't know this yet.
No, I'm absolutely staggered that he's still here. How have we not just got rid of him yet? I agree. We will hopefully be getting rid of him this window. If not, he leaves on a free in the next summer anyway. But
could you imagine if he lines up?
Imagine if he starts tomorrow. Imagine the meltdown and the confusion if he starts tomorrow.
The thing is, though, there'd be the smallest part that's like, "Ooh, that's exciting, isn't it?" Like Vagos in the Championship. That would be, you have to admit that'd be quite exciting, wouldn't it? Let's be fair.
I don't know if I'd be excited or annoyed or both. I don't know.
2 goals against Argentina. Oh, granted, 4 years ago, but he scored in Euros recently. Like, who knows? He could be unbelievable.
Yeah. Speaking of more, hopefully upbeat. I know this guy has a lot of his critics, but Lyle Foster in the Championship. Chris, I'll come to you. How do you think he's going to do in the Championship? He scored a great goal against Cadiz. My only worry with him, and I'll just get my thoughts in before I come to you, is consistency. Obviously, you always have to. I feel like you always have to put a disclaimer out there when you talk about Lyle. Yes, I understand he's had his issues, and obviously we wish him all the best. And again, not to give any spoilers away on the documentary, but it felt like it. When he was out of the squad, it wasn't the first time that he'd suffered from stuff like this. So I do worry going into the season that the consistency he may struggle with and playing week in, week out, and then, staying healthy. But I think if he can stay healthy and if he can stay fit and if he can find some consistency, I appreciate that's quite a lot of variables, but he can have a very, very, very good season in the Championship and score quite a lot of goals. What are you thinking, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just trying to keep him, I don't want to say fit, but
that's why I use the term healthy. Yeah, I think that's the best way of saying it.
And, keep him in and around the team. I think he's got attributes to be a great striker, but it's can you keep him in there? He's quick, he's strong, he's exactly the sort of player you want up front in your team. The thing with Foster that, for me personally, I think he struggles with. Technically, I don't think he's as good as likes of a J-Rod. Like, if you're trying to just bounce that ball into a striker and just touch it up, I think that's where he struggles. When it comes to the technical stuff with Foster, that's where he struggles. But it's a different system. No one truly knows what to expect. Apart from one friendly against Cadiz, no one's actually seen how we're going to line up, how we're going to play, what the patterns are going to be. No one actually knows anything. So Parker's seen enough of him in the friendlies to think that he is going to be number one, I think. I don't think he's going to play the new lad, Hatonji. I can't see him starting him. But I do think if Foster can stay in the team all season, he could have a good season. And if you look at the 2 teams Parker went up with, I'm not saying he's on par with Solanke and Mitrovic. I'm not going to say that. But the 2 strikers he had in those teams were 20-odd, 30 goal. Didn't Mitrovic break the records?
Yeah,
or was that Silva, maybe? I don't know. But the 2 strikers Parker had them seasons were 20-odd goal a season strikers. So there's potential there for it to be one of them. It's just if he can stay in the team for me. I don't think it's a question of if he's good enough. It's just, is he going to be there 46 games a season?
Yeah. Sam, your thoughts on Lyle?
Yeah, I think I've been fairly vocal with him over the 2-3 years that he's been here. I've seen enough of him in spells to know that there's a good striker in there, but I also am very wary of the other side. The time out of football, which is fair and understandable, but at the same time, we are a football club and we have got 46 games to play. And if he makes 30 of them, that's 16 games where we've got to try and see how we get on with Gerrard or Hatunji, who, might not be up to speed. But do you know one of the biggest things that changed it? And I know we've said that we're not going to spoil the documentary, but at the same time, if you've not seen the clip of it on Twitter yet, what are you doing? But the whole Foster thing in that situation, we all thought at that point that he's out of it. He's gone away, he's taking time for himself, whatever. He was in and around the squad. He was vocal in the changing room. And do you know what? Me and Dad were talking about it the other day. We actually said it was more. We said it showed more about someone like Jack Cork than it did Foster. Foster came into the changing room. Okay, we thought maybe it went on for a little bit long. It was quite a lengthy rant at people, but at the same time, it's things that people needed to say. Last season, if you're scared of playing Bournemouth and you're scared of playing Luton, you need to be told that. And he was just trying to explain, we're Premier League footballers now. We have the opportunity to play in the best league in the world, and this is how we want to go down. And he was absolutely spot on. And I was saying it about Jack Cork. I said that was more full Jack Cork than anything else, because that just showed that he was willing to accept mediocrity. He was willing to sit around a group of lads that did put their head down and look. So Foster got a lot of points from me with that, because it showed the winning mentality. It showed the drive that he has, and it showed the care for the club, which you don't always see from players. And it also backed up what we said about last season about how hard he works off the ball. It backed it up, because when he's not even on the pitch, he's still in the changing room. He's still telling the lads exactly what they need to hear. I think it was absolutely the right thing to do. I think with him this season, like Chris says, if he has the same archetype as Mitrovic and Solanke does with regards to a Scott Parker striker, he's fast, he's strong, he's played in the Premier League, he's got goals in the Premier League, he's shown that he can do it. It's just, can he keep that consistency? And I think if he does, he's very, very easily a 20-25 goal a season striker. And then having Gerrard, having Hatunji, having Obafemi behind him, all right, granted, you won't really want Obafemi and Gerrard to really have to touch the pitch a lot this year.
Too much, yeah.
That's a hell of a striking room, innit? I mean, what other team can say they've got 4 attacking options just in striker for that? I think Foster will have a good season this season. I really can.
Yeah, just going back to the mission to Burnley thing as well, I think it showed he cared as well. Whereas I think a lot of people, because of his health and because of him seemingly, obviously the documentary shows that he doesn't, disappearing for 6 months, a lot of people questioned into the fact that maybe he doesn't care as much. But you could tell from that rant, and again, I'm not going to give too much away, that he clearly cared and he clearly wanted the best for the club and the team. And I still believe that. And I think he does very well this season coming. Quick comment there from Raj. He says, can anyone see Zeke staying? Easy for me to say. That's one that's gone under the radar a little bit, hasn't it? There's been no links away for Zeke. He's another one that I think will do quite well in the Championship this season if we can find a place for him. I'm still not 100% certain what his best place is, probably just behind the striker. But I think, Brownhill might want to play that. Again, that's a different debate. But Zeke, Sam, I'll stick with you. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think we can see him staying? But there's been no rumours, so I think potentially he does.
Yeah, I can now, mate. I can now. And the only reason for it is we can't sell everybody. And we're not going to sell everybody. And we're not in a position where we have to sell everybody. And I'll go back to the Leeds situation. Leeds managed to keep Nonso, Somerville, all the best players last season when they came down. It is possible to keep players. Odegaard signed a 5-year contract because nobody knew how good he was going to be, and then he had a great season. We don't have to sell him. If somebody comes in with £45 million, you can turn around and say, "All right, yeah, fair." But we don't have to sell Odegaard. We don't have to sell Zeki either. We can get rid of players like Trezor and Vegas, and they're the fringe players. Amdouni could have an absolutely banging season this season. I think if you play him in the 10. I think he showed enough to me last season that he's definitely a technically good footballer.
100%.
And I just think he was in the wrong system around a poor group of players where the ethos wasn't right, and a manager that wasn't willing to change, or when he was willing to change, he was willing to change dramatically, like to the point where, Zeki, you're not playing anymore, ever. Or when you do come on, you're going to play left wing, which he's just never played ever in his life. But yeah, I think for me, if he's in that 10 role, I think he's the perfect player to link the ball with Koleosho on the left. And I think it's really tricky, actually, because now I've said that, like, I would personally, if we had a full strength team, would rather have Odebear in the 10. I think he did enough to solidify that 10 position. But in a hypothetical world, we've got Koleosho on the left, Odebear on the right, Zeki through the middle, and Foster ahead of him.
I mean, if we keep all 4 of them, that's fantastic. I don't think we will keep all 4 of them.
Four in it, and then you've got Guerrero and Benson off the bench, like crazy, mate. Like,
this is what I mean about people sleeping on how good our squad is.
Attacking.
When you say that, it's amazing.
I'm very excited with attacking options. It's all the other bits. Do we lose version? We have to play Masengo for a bit, and we need another centre mid, and we've already gone over that. And to be fair, as much as I said that, somebody did a comment as well about the defence. Like I mentioned fullbacks. We have got quite a lot of fullbacks as well. I forgot about Sambo. Like, Sambo could very easily play a part. He played, nearly every game for PSV last year. He's a brilliant player. Vitinho came on leaps and bounds as well, and we still have Connor Roberts back. Like,
yeah,
we don't completely know what's going on with the defense. I think that's where I agree with Chris. Like, we don't know what that defense is going to look like. We don't know who's going to play where, who's doing what, and what the system is for them defenders. And there's so many of them. You can't play with 8 of them, can you? So who's going to play? I have no idea. But yeah, I think Zeki will have a banger this year. I think he's a very technically good player. And I think if we do keep him without any of the rumblings and he's not been linked away, I think that's only a win for us, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Chris, what do you think with Zeki? Do you think he stays and think he'll do well in the Championship?
Yeah, I agree with Sam. I think you can't sell everyone. I just think if they're going to sell Burge, they're going to sell O'Shea. If they're going to sell Trafford, they're the 3 at the minute who probably look like likeliest to leave. Then there's no real need to sell Amdouni. Like Sam said as well, these lads all come in summer and sign 4 or 5 year contracts. So. Yeah. Unfortunately, when you come into a club like Burnley and you sign a 5-year deal when you've just gone up, there's a good chance next season you'll be playing in the Championship. So these lads must have been happy when they come in to say, well, if we go down, I'll play in the Championship. And like when he said about Somerville as well, these things will all help. Because if you have a good season in the Championship like he did, and he gets he got 30 goals and assists or whatever he got combined, you're worth more, or your stock goes higher than it does if you get 10, 15 in the Prem anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, if you want to sell players for big money or you want to make a name for yourself, get in the Championship, because the people are paying silly money for players. What did Somerville go for? 30, 40 million, something like that.
25 in the end, wasn't it? At Leeds.
If you got 10, 15 goal contributions in the Prem, you probably wouldn't have even got that.
No, exactly.
I just think if you stay and you can make a name for yourself in the Championship, if you're good enough, you'll get that move anyway. And ultimately, someone like Amdouni, really, he hasn't even shown enough to say that he's good enough to play in the Prem yet. We've seen it in sprinklings, but up to now, he hasn't really made that name for himself to me. I think he should stay, and I think he will stay. Like you say, there's not been any links or anything, but he is an international, so...
Yeah, there is that.
As soon as they're an international, there's always a tax on players, isn't there? Someone's looking at you somewhere.
At least there's no tournament coming up, because obviously that sometimes can push through a move because they're desperate to be involved in the tournament at the end of the season. So
honestly, he screams last week of the transfer window, Galatasaray 10 mil. You just why? It just screams it, doesn't it? Yeah. No, I personally think he'll have a great season if he stays. And I as much as I love Brownhill, and I really do, I absolutely love Josh Brownhill. He's on bench this season.
Do you reckon not in the 10?
Players, if that's the style of player, we need the technical players to be playing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've always said about him, even going back to the Dyche days, he's not good enough to come deep and get on the ball, unfortunately. No. He's a good player, and don't get me wrong, like me saying he's not good enough when he's played like 100 and odd games in the Prem and what have you, like from someone who's never played professionally, like it sounds stupid, but when you play these technical systems, that's why like companies shoehorned him into a 10. He's not really a 10. Like he doesn't come deep and link play. Like he's not a 10 either. That was just he got put there because he's not good enough to come and get on the ball and dictate play. Like to me, in a team who's going to dominate the ball, try and work it forward, he just, like you said, he's on the bench. He just doesn't play, unfortunately. It's nothing against him. Like get over, like he loves the club and he works hard, but unfortunately, in some teams that's just not enough. Every player should work hard and love the club and give 100% anyway. So like. Unfortunately for him, I just don't think he'll play as much as he thinks. And before someone says like he's club captain, like it doesn't mean that much. Look at Jack Court last season.
Court was captain last
season. Didn't kick a ball. So like just because he's club captain, it doesn't mean much. I just don't see where he fits in personally.
Yeah,
I think this is the first season I've had for a long time where I've thought that. For a long time, I've always said that I would rather have Brownhill in than not. Like I liked Brownhill in the 10 in the last championship season. Simply because I actually thought his link-up play was good. I thought he was good because he's good with his back to goal. You don't want him running at a defence, but he's not bad receiving the ball on the half turn and getting it out wide. Like I think that's where his strengths lie. I think if you push him further back, he just runs around like a headless chicken, and it's not his fault because that's just not his style of play. But I wouldn't have him in. I wouldn't have him in the 6 or the 8. Like he just would not be there. And I'm sorry, but you can't. I'm not putting him in the 10 to take away from Amdouni. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I think the 10 is between Brownhill or Amdouni, like you say. I think Amdouni's the better technical player, but Josh has got more experience at this level and he'll know what to expect.
Brownhill will start.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think maybe we'll start with Brownhill and then slowly Amdouni might come into the side. And then if Amdouni's playing well enough, he'll keep his space. But so, some of these players do worry me in this league that the fact if they get kicked, they'll then go missing for the next 20 minutes or whatever. Whereas I don't think Brownhill does. Personally.
No, like I say, he will make me eat my words as well because
team at season again at end of year.
I didn't think he was the number 10 when we only because when we got promoted. The only reason why I didn't think he was the 10 was because we got linked with Callum O'Hare first. So in my head, it was Callum O'Hare or him. And the whole time that he played, like the first 10 games, I was like, you could have been Callum O'Hare. And then by the end of the season, I was like, well, Callum O'Hare's been out all year, and you've just won championship. Like, didn't he win Player of the Year?
No, Cullen got Player of the Year. Brownhill wasn't.
Yeah, he was in that conversation, wasn't he? So, I mean, you can debate was he rightfully in that conversation, but I think he was. I think he was a good player. But
I think he was.
I mean, like that comment says as well by Chris, like about Odebear, like that's exactly what I said. Odebear finished the season, I think, stronger than any player in a Burnley shirt last year, and that was when he moved to the 10 role.
His 10's his best position, I think. I think when you
brilliant,
you go. I think the tendency is with young lads when they play out wide, they just go missing. And he's too good to go missing in games. Like to get him into the game, sometimes you've got to come inside. Somerville did that at Leeds though last year. Everyone thought Somerville was a winger and he wasn't. He played inside a lot of the time, or certainly if he played on the left, he come in off the left. Like Odebear's best when he's dictating play and he finds them pockets. Like that's what he's best at. You know, people say about Odebear like he's not going to beat men and get crosses into the box. He can do that, but he's better finding space and dictating play. Like to me, anyway.
Getting that ball on the half turn as well. Like, he's so good bearing down on goal.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think he's a different player to someone like Koleosho, though. Like, because Koleosho's young, but he's just all pace. So, like, all you want with him is to get the ball, knock it past the man, and get round him and get the cross across the box. Whereas with him, like Chris says, he can do that. But last season, towards the end of last season, right, he was like one of my favourite players last season anyway. But towards the end of last season, when he moved into that 10 role and he was getting the ball on the half turn and he was just hitting it from outside the box, he's one of those, you know, like back in the day when we did get Koleosho and we were like, oh my God, we've got wingers with pace. And then we did it with Zareri and Benson. We were like, we've got fast wingers finally. That's what I felt like with the 10. I was like, we've got someone who just gets the ball and just has a go. We've got somebody who's not trying to pass the ball into the box. We've just got somebody who's literally just turned and shot and it's gone top bins. He scored so many good goals last season in a Burnley team that was absolutely horrific. Yeah. And he was the only bright spark. If he's still there come the end of the transfer window, he's my number 10 all season, up, down, left and right, side to side. He's unbelievable. He's incredible. Get him in that 10 and he'll score 20 goals this year.
I agree with that. I think Alderweireld in the 10 I would like to see, but I'd be interested to see what Parker does. I think Jude. I think a lot of people want him as a winger, so we'll see what Parker does. But I do agree putting him in the 10 would be a good idea in this league because, as Chris said, he did it towards, or one of you said, he did it towards the end of the Premier League season last season. Right? I did say that this one wouldn't be as long as usual because some of them recently have been going like an hour and a half. We've got to 45 minutes. So what I'm going to do now, I've asked the lads for some predictions. So we're going to go through them. First of all, Chris, I'll come to you first because you've already said this in one of the videos that we've done when we did like a pre-season prediction sort of video. You sent one in. But where do you think, unless you've changed your mind, to be fair.
No, I haven't.
Where do you think Burnley will...
Now, just so you know,
are you going to write them down? Fair enough. Where do you think Burnley will finish in the league this season, Chris?
First. No doubt. I do. And do you know what? Like, anyone who watches the videos, and like, I'm not optimistic by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I wouldn't just say first in blind like optimism. I do genuinely believe we'll finish first. I think the emphasis now, as much as like we do still need like players here and there. If we can keep all the players, we've got the best squad in the league by a considerable distance to me. And I know people say like it doesn't guarantee you anything. It doesn't. You need the manager to bring it together and you need like the players to gel together and all that jazz. We've got a manager who's been promoted twice. All right, I don't think he's actually, I'm not sure, but I don't think he won the league on either occasion, did he? Did he finish? One was a playoffs and was one second.
Fulham was definitely playoffs, I think.
Definitely. Fulham were they were like 23 points ahead.
I don't know. I can't remember. I think that was with Silva. Was it with Marco Silva? They romped the league. Did Parker win the playoffs?
Oh, he did because it was Joe Bryan scored 2 goals, didn't he?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And then I think Bournemouth finished second behind Marco Silva's Fulham team, if I remember right. I just think we've got a manager to bring it together. We've not got a huge transition like we did last time, where like we went from Dyche to Company. And it was like all change. I think it's going to be like a bit of a smoother transition. And if we can keep all the players we've got, I don't see any reason why we won't win the league. Do you want the rest of it as well? Or?
No, not yet. We'll come to that in a minute. But I'll just quickly, I agree with you on Burnley. I think we win the league. And some people might just say it's blind hope. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think a lot of people are sleeping on how good our team is. We've gone through it already, so I don't need to go over it too much. But that forward line is a Premier League forward line. You could argue an average to poor Premier League line, but admittedly a very, very good in this league. I think we'll score a lot of goals. I think the defence, when everybody's fit, is a good defence as well. We've got so many options at centre-back. And I know people like to criticise Al-Dakhil. Yes, he was out of his depth last year in the Premier League, but even he looked very good in the Championship last time. A lot of people are sleeping on the disparity between the Premier League and the Championship. Again, I gave the example of Sheffield United keeping their first clean sheet against Preston on the first day of the season, already equaling the amount of clean sheets they kept in the league last season. They were dreadful. They were the only team we were better than last year, and we were so much better than them. Yes, they've added well. They still need some more, and I still think we're better than them. But I genuinely believe that our squad, it has quality and it has depth. The only bit of anxiety for me is the manager. Not that I don't believe in him, but I don't know how we are going to play under him yet, and I don't know how he's going to utilise certain players and things like that. But at the same time, as you said, Chris, he's been promoted twice out of this division already. I think he can do it again, hopefully winning the league with Burnley. I do think we have a slow start, though, because of the changes made at management level and the tough start we've got. Like, let's not forget, we've got Luton, the first game of the season. We've got Leeds early on. We've got Sunderland, who look like they might be okay this year away from home. And then we've got a derby against, admittedly, a very poor Blackburn side, but it's a derby and form and quality tends to go out the window sometimes. So it's a tough start, and I feel like we might have a slow start, but then eventually I just think we'll have a click day like we spoke about a lot under Company, and then we'll go on to win the league, hopefully. I did notice when I asked for predictions, some people started putting in score predictions. So yes, sorry, I was asking for your predictions of where you think Burnley will finish. So keep them coming. I'll put them on the screen. Sorry. We'll go to Sam next. Where do you think Burnley will finish, mate?
I've gone second, mate. Just to
is that behind Leeds?
It is, mate. Yeah, it's just a safe base, really. Just a safe base, just in case we don't win.
I don't think none of your mates watch this, mate, because they're all Leeds fans.
No, you know what? I think with the money that they've got for Somerville, I think Nonto's still staying. I think they've invested well with Roden. I think the only position that I think they need is a striker. I don't think they should rely on Mateo Joseph. As good as I actually think he could be, he would not be my number 9 all season. Patrick Bamford's one of the worst footballers I've ever seen in my entire life. I've stood by that since before he played at Burnley. He's an awful footballer, and if you ever want to win anything, he's not the guy to be in your team. But like I say, I think they like us have a very well-rounded squad. I just think that they need to add a little bit of depth. But I've gone for second. I think we've got enough to get promoted. I still think we're better than Sheffield United, as good as they have been. I think the only thing that maybe changes the way that you think about it is because their transfer window has been incredible. Like, you can't downplay their transfer window. Their transfer window has been brilliant. They've signed Gilchrist from Chelsea. They've signed Kiefer Moore, who's a proven championship goal scorer. They've signed, who else? They've still got Hamer, which is a win in itself. They've signed Callum O'Hare. They've just got a lot of good players and players that they can utilise in the squad. So I think they went from, for me, it was us. We were the only team that came down where I was like, we're still going to be in that top 6. I didn't actually think Luton would be. I've not put them in my top 6. And I've done the same with Sheffield United. They weren't, and now they absolutely are. I've got them in third behind us. But I think we'll still have a good season. I think our squad is easily the best overall squad in the Championship. Obviously, the reservations are style of play under Scott Parker, who's playing where, who's still to go. They're my reservations. And for me, they're 3 quite big ones. That's why I've put us in second.
Yeah, fair enough. The only team that worries me is Leeds, but losing Somerville and then potentially, I don't know what the situation is with Jonathan Rowe at the minute. Last I saw that Marseille are coming for him, so I would suspect he goes to Marseille. So I feel like, and obviously they lost Alfie May to Spurs, and they've had other people leave as well. I mean, I think you've just mentioned Nonto there and said he might be staying now, but fingers crossed they lose him and Rutter as well. Because I did see something on Twitter yesterday that they might be losing some more big players. But again, we'll see. I think Leeds are weaker than what we were last year, hence why I've gone us top. But Leeds at the minute are the only team that do worry me. I did put a question out on Twitter yesterday. If you want to follow the page, just search Turfcast Podcast on Twitter. I know the majority of you do. I just quickly said, quick question, where do you think Burnley will finish in the Championship this season? Give your reasoning after your answer below. Howard Thompson said 8th, and he said, not sure we have enough players to be prepared to dig deep over a long season if it doesn't start well. Beecher, who's in the YouTube chat as well, to be fair, says 2nd. Layla says, I think top 10. Squad needs to gel again, need to build some confidence, and I don't want to get promoted right away. Anyway, we need to rebuild first. Graham Jennings says, I think we will finish in the playoffs. I am yet to get super confident about Parker, but we will have to dig deep. But we do have a big squad filled with quality good enough to win the league. Andrew Ashworth says top 6, but I can see us going up automatically. Jimmy the Claret says 2nd. Luton will run like a machine, so they'll be 1st. Raju, again, is in the YouTube chat, says 2nd. Graham Cottam says top of the league. Karen Fazakli of the BBC says playoffs, new manager, new team ethic. A season in the Championship won't do us any harm. Ben says, I don't think we'll see a season like the Championship winning season last time. I think it'll be too much tougher. Snap your hand off a 2nd. Law of averages say we've had it too good in this league for a while. Can see a playoff final defeat. So interestingly, some people quite reserved on that. 8th and top half. I tell you what, if the self-proclaimed EFL expert, I can't remember his name now. What's that young lad's name?
Gab Sutton.
Him. Yeah. He said I like the guy, and he's clearly But he said we'll finish 8th, I think, and then he was on a panel
that knows every player in League Two.
Yeah, him. And then somebody turned around and said, he said, I think Burnley win the league, and he was so shocked. Why is that so much of a shock to you? I don't get it, but he's a self-proclaimed EFL expert, and I'm surprised to see people like this saying that we'll finish 8th. If we finish 8th or lower, I don't know. I'll plat shit live on stream. I know I say that all the time.
Though, that worries me more though, because if he's got the level of knowledge that he does for Jody Jones at Notts County, his prediction is gospel to me now. I'm sorry, but we're finishing 8th. That's it.
I just don't understand how people can think we're going to finish 8th. Again, this is what I mean. I respect Gavin. He clearly knows a lot of what he's on about, but I just think people have seen the Scott Parker thing and gone, no. He doesn't know much about our squad, clearly, if he thinks we're going to finish 8th. The squad is too good to not be finishing in.
Do you know who started this? The Second Tier podcast with the horrendous, terrible, ridiculous prediction for the season. They've planted the seed for the Scott Parker thing by putting him as the 15th best manager and then saying that we'll finish 6th. Rubbish podcast. Get them off the platform.
They're Derby fans, mate, so I think they'll know a thing or two about people.
Let's all laugh at Derby.
Speaking of, let's go with top 6 predictions, and I'll come to you first on this one, Sam. What's your entire top 6 from 1st to 6th, please?
Right, mate. Well, I've gone for Leeds at the top of the table. I've got Burnley in 2nd. I've got Sheffield United in 3rd. West Brom in 4th. Coventry 5th. And Borough 6th.
Interesting.
Chris? I don't think Luton will be up there personally.
I've got Burnley 1st. Sheffield United 2nd. I think the recruitment's been really good. I've got Luton 3rd on the basis that they've got a good manager and they have still got quite a good, they've got that togetherness and that. I've got Leeds in 4th. I hope there's no Leeds fans watching, but I think they're overrated.
I don't know if Harley's a Leeds fan who's just called on the shit. I hope not, because you're in for some trouble if they are.
I've got Borough in 5th and I've got Sunderland in 6th. I think they'll have a good season. I think they've got a good manager, got some good players as well. I think they'll sneak in.
Interesting. Just as you said that, Alan said, who is going to be this season's surprise package? Sunderland. Obviously, Chris agrees on that one. Always Claret says Luton 1st, Hull 2nd. You've been drinking, mate. Burnley 3rd, 4th Leeds, 5th Coventry, Norwich 6th. My top 6 in this league are Burnley 1st, Leeds United in 2nd, Middlesbrough 3rd, Sheffield United 4th, Coventry 5th, and then Luton 6th. I think Luton will have a slow start and then eventually come good. Again, I agree with Chris. They've got a good manager, but I think losing Lokonga and Barkley is going to be tough for them, and I think they'll have to readjust to that. And they've got a lot of injuries as well at the start of the season, so I think they're going to have a slow start as well. Right, just some comments coming in. Clara Al says Burnley, Sheffield United, Leeds, Borough, Luton, and Sunderland. Another one with Sunderland. Interestingly enough, Gav Sutton predicted Sunderland to win the league. Now, I've just accused always Claret of drinking early on for saying Hull will finish 2nd. But if Sunderland win the league, again, I don't know. I have no imagination of saying I'll streak through Burnley Town Centre, or as someone used to say on Claret's Mad all the time back in the day, I'll get my arse out in Burton Window. Bottom 3, Chris. I'll come to you first on this one. Who do you think starting bottom, please? So starting 24th, then 23rd, and then 22nd. Who do you think the bottom 3 in the Championship is going to be?
Right. I've been thinking about this, and I think I'm going to upset a certain fan base here, and it's probably not the one you expect it to be. I've got Derby at bottom.
Mm-hmm.
2nd to bottom, I've got Plymouth. And 3rd bottom, I'm going rogue, and I've not seen this mentioned. I'm going Preston.
That's so mad.
I'm going Preston, and I'll tell you why. Right. On Friday night, they were awful. I think everyone kind of gathered that. Championship now, and this includes last season, but, form does carry over. Preston... They've not just turned poor on this one night. They've lost 6 games in the Championship in a row without scoring a goal. In 8 of the last 9 in the Championship, they haven't scored a goal. And the only one game that they did win in that time and score was against Huddersfield, who went down.
I like how you've backed it up with stats.
I can back it up. They're so bad. The manager, they're awful. The manager's terrible. I just really don't rate the manager. They've got no money because they've never been in the Prem or they've never sold anyone substantial. They've got nothing to compete. They're just essentially a League One team punching above the weight to me. Full credit to them because, last season they started really well and then they just dropped like a stone.
Yeah, they did start really well. And I think it backs up your point, though, because I remember they started really well, but weren't they winning like 1-0, 0-0, then 1-0, then losing 1-0? It was just they weren't scoring much.
No, they were keeping loads of clean sheets. And then once you stop keeping clean sheets and you still can't score goals, you've got a problem. That's the position they're in. But and they will be loyal to Lowe as well. A lot of the fans don't like him, but
yeah, they hate him, don't they?
The chairman, is it Risdale or whatever his name is? Yeah. He likes him. But I just look at the players they're signing and they're like, you've never heard of them, some of them. They've got no money. I just don't see how they compete in the Championship. They've got less of a chance to me than the likes of Oxford. I watched them against Norwich yesterday and they were good. So I'm going rogue with Preston. So sorry to Preston fans.
I doubt there will be many Preston fans spending the Sunday morning watching the Bill on the YouTube channel, but you never know, mate. I'll clip it up just for you with hashtag PNE as well. Sam, your bottom three, please.
Basically identical, mate. I've got Derby rock bottom. I put Blackburn just above them, but I'm obviously joking. I think they'll finish 17. I've got Derby, rock bottom, Plymouth, and Preston. They're the three. Just same reason as Chris. I really think that Preston rode the luck last year with regards to they got the early wins at the start of the season, 1-0 wins, having 2 shots on target, playing awful football and winning games. We've seen that for years in so many different divisions. We've seen it with Huddersfield in the Premier League. They stayed up winning, 2-1, 2-0, 1-0. And they were rubbish. And then they got relegated the season after with like one of the lowest points. Same thing with Sheffield United. We see it with Rotherham every year. They come up into the division. They stay up for 1 year and then they crash and burn because they can't consistently stay in. They cannot consistently compete in this division. Preston have rode the luck for years. They have not, like Chris said, they've not had a key player. They've not had a marquee sale. They bring in free transfers that sometimes work for them, like players like Robbie Brady. Everybody else is discards. And they put some results together. I think the luck runs out this season. I think Plymouth are in for such a reality shot because of Wayne Rooney. The effect that man has on a football team is incredible. He has no idea how to tactically set up a team. He screams Gary Neville at Valencia every time he's in a managerial job. And Gary Neville is, in my opinion, a sensible enough bloke to be able to turn around and, like he did on all the podcasts before, say, I'm not a master tactician. People were able to out-tactic me in-game, change stuff, and I couldn't do that. Neither can Rooney. That's why he's managing Plymouth. That's why he's managed Birmingham. That's why he's not had a big role. That's why he managed a Derby team that ended up getting relegated. Like, they're going to be horrendous this year. I think Plymouth were in a position where they could have actually kept going. He's absolutely scuppered that. And then Derby are genuinely the worst team in the division.
Yeah.
That game the other day, that Blackburn team is so rubbish that if you get beat 4-2 by them, especially when they were on top as well, they got it back to 1-1 and they were on top, and then you concede a goal like that.
Just see how much quality they didn't have. Yeah.
Like, why on earth did you let him score as well? Why? Like, his face annoys me. He's such an annoying person. I cannot stand him. And that celebration as well when he scored, like, I'm still here, let me score. Shut up and just leave, you weirdo. Honestly, they were my rock bottom team until I saw them 2 strikers, which really annoyed me even more. Like, I think they've recruited up front, which is what they needed. And that annoys me for when we play the Derby game because that Gay actually looked really good. Like he actually looked like a really good player. If Dolan has a season where he actually takes the reins, I think he'll be all right this year. Their attacking setup now does worry me, but that the only reason why I've not is because they are easily better than Derby, Preston, and Plymouth. That's the only reason they're out of it.
Yeah, for me, I've gone Derby because, as everybody said, absolutely awful. I've then gone Oxford because I'm not being blinded by yesterday. I know they played well yesterday, and I know they got a good result yesterday. And it's the same with my third option as well. But I just think ultimately over the course of the season, they'll fade. And, when it's Saturday, Tuesday in the middle of January, they're going to have a lot of defeats in there. And I think they're going to slowly slip down the table. And again, I'm surprised I'm the only one that's done it, but I've gone for Blackburn. And it's not just because I'm a Burnley fan. I agree. They've recruited okay. And nobody mentioned Andreas Weimann as well, by the way. I think it's probably the best signing that they've brought in.
Signing for free.
I'm not sure about this gay lad. We've seen him play against Derby. He looked okay against Derby, and it was a good finish. Same with the Japanese lad whose name I don't know. It was a good finish, but it's just Derby. And I'm not going to get carried away for them yet. Let's see where they are in mid-September when they've won the league again. Or whether they've not won the league again, because apparently they've won it already. But I still think they go. The only thing that I think will save Blackburn is Eustace. I think he's a decent manager who knows how to build a squad that's tough to beat. But I still think ultimately, like they stayed up last season on the basis that Leicester were pissed. And I think they're going to lose Smodics. They are going to lose him. If they keep him and we lose all of our best players, I'll be furious. Like, why are these clubs keeping their best players and we're not? But they'll still lose him. And can these two new strikers, can they step up to what Smodics did last year? I don't think they can. So I think ultimately they will go. And I'll take that. Burnley to win the league and Blackburn to finish 22nd and go down, please.
I can't believe you've got Oxford to go down. I think the Cacam's going to be an absolute fortress for him this year. I think it will to start with, and then they might do with Rotherham, like you said. I reckon they win 9 games at home. Genuinely, I genuinely think they will be so hard to beat at home.
Interesting. I think they'll start off well, as they've already have done, and then ultimately, when it's like I said, November, December, January, they'll fade away. They played Norwich; it was a very good result.
That's what I mean, though. Like people were saying, this year's like Norwich have to get promoted or bust, like because they're gonna, they've got loads of money for Sarah and they might get money for Rowe. But like, that's not a bad team to get a first win against. I mean, I know Pompey also, drew 3-3 with Leeds, but like of all the teams that came up, Derby looked the worst, and Oxford went and got the best result against arguably one of the better teams. Like, I think they'll be great this year. I think on the road, I think they'll be poor.
I think the reason why I've not gone too far into the game yesterday is Norwich were in a little bit of disarray. Jonathan Rowe told them 20 minutes before the start of the game, before the teams was announced that he didn't want to be involved, apparently. And I just feel like there was a lot of uncertainty surrounding Norwich, and then they've capitalised on that. I did predict that they'd actually get a good result yesterday, or whenever it was. I didn't think they'd beat Norwich, but I did think they'd start well and ultimately fade, and I'm going to stick by that. But yeah, I think we'll pretty much wrap it up there, unless there's anything else anyone wants to. In fact, I will actually quickly get predictions for tomorrow. For tomorrow. Get your comments in. We'll put them on screen. I've gone Burnley 3-1 on a Luton podcast and my podcast. So I'm going to stick by it. I think we're going to capitalise. We've got a very good forward line, as we've already explained. We've got Coley Orsha, who's absolutely rapid, up against a makeshift defence. And I think we can score. I think they'll score as well. They've got, they've still got some decent forwards, obviously Morris and people like that. So I think they score against us. And I do worry about crosses with our sort of like not makeshift defence, but we don't know if O'Shea is going to be playing sort of thing. There's a lot of injuries there as well. So I think both teams score. Sam, I'll come to you. Your prediction for tomorrow, please, mate.
2-1 Burnley. I still think we get the job done because I think we've still got a very good squad. But I don't think it'll be as convincing. And I also I don't want it to be a slog either. Like, please don't
It always is against
80
them.
minutes and just nothing happen. Like,
It always is against them, though. Yeah.
I know. I was going to say that because, like, when we were talking about it earlier, like last season we drew 1-1, and then at their place we beat them 1-0, and it took a penalty. And I think
2-1, 2-1, weren't it? It was you're thinking about the season before in the Championship.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean in the Championship.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Premier League, I've forgotten about that. That's a blip on. Like, honestly, I've deleted that year from my phone. It didn't even exist. No, that season in the Championship, like we got the penalty and we scored. And we had 2 shots on target the whole game. Like it's a hard place to go. So
yeah, it's not easy.
I think 2-1 Burnley because I do think the bridge from our squad to their squad is quite big.
Chris?
I'll go 1-1. I just think they'll try and suck the life out of the game, make it as boring as they can. There won't be any water on the pitch and all that jazz. Like that's what Luton are good at. The same both times we've been, it's been the same. Like it's just trying to stifle the game. It won't be any different tomorrow. It's the only way they know how to play. They're not going to come and beat us at playing football and stuff like that. They'll just be sitting rigid, try to come and break us down kind of thing.
Dashes.
Yeah, a bit like that. I just think 1-1. Because I don't know what to expect. It's not like anyone's seen us play in pre-season. You say, we're going to play like that. And it's just unknown. I just think 1-1. Everyone knows about Luton, but no one really knows about us. And that's kind of like good in some ways and others. But I'm just not sure we'll get it done tomorrow. I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, to be fair, 1-1 wouldn't be the worst result in the world away at Luton. I'm just hoping that with the injuries that they have, it's a perfect chance for us to capitalise. And I think if we get a 1-1 tomorrow, in the case of like 6, 7, 8 weeks, when they've got all their players back and they start winning games, I think we'll look back on it and think that was a missed opportunity there. Like I said, though, I will wrap it up there unless there's anything you boys want to quickly chat about, anything you want to add?
Not for me.
I think we've covered everything, mate.
We will be back with a live on Tuesday evening. After the match, and obviously we'll be doing the fan reactions as well, so plenty of content coming up over the next few days on Turfcast. And I can reveal now that I will be interviewing the executive producer of Mission to Burnley 2 later on today. That won't be live, but I'll be interviewing him at 7:30 p.m. today UK time. And I will be putting a tweet out later just asking for questions if anyone wants a question asked. I'm not sure exactly when I'll put that interview out, maybe later this week, maybe later next week. But yeah, plenty of content coming up on Turfcast. You've got pre-game shows, full-time shows, fan reactions, they're all back. This is the last big debate that we'll be doing, apart from maybe during the international breaks and stuff like that. But yeah, back to usual stuff now on Turfcast. And as usual, if you join the stream late, when I press end stream, it stays as a standalone video on YouTube. And of course, I will be uploading the audio to all the usual podcast providers as well. But thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for the lads for coming on. Always a good debate with the boys. And we will see you for the full-time show on Tuesday.